Think positive.
Welcome, or welcome back to the Golan Bros podcast, GA for short. I'm your host, Prince. This is a space for inner work, self-improvement, self-discovery, mindset, accountability, integrity, reflection, and personal development. This podcast is built for growth, for honesty, and for becoming a better version of yourself one day at a time. New episodes drop every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Today's episode is called Love of Reflections. There's a form of love that doesn't get talked about enough. Not the kind tied to people, not the kind tied to attention or validation, not the kind that's easy to recognize, but something quieter, something deeper, the love of reflection. Reflection isn't just looking back. It isn't just remembering what happened. It's the ability to see clearly, without distraction, without excuses, without distortion, to see what is. The truth is, most people don't avoid growth. They avoid reflection, because reflection comes with clarity, and clarity comes with truth, and truth doesn't always feel good, but reflection isn't meant to comfort. It's meant to reveal. Reflection gives more than most people expect, not in comfort, but in awareness, because when reflection is real, it doesn't just show progress. It shows patterns. It shows what's repeated. It shows what's avoided. It shows where effort is consistent and where it disappears. That's where the tension comes from, not from the work itself, but from seeing what the work actually looks like. It's easy to say I'm trying. It's harder to look at the results and ask, is that actually true? Reflection answers that, not with emotion, not with opinion, but with evidence. Most people don't struggle with effort. They struggle with what reflection exposes about their effort. Without honesty, reflection loses its power. It becomes selective, only focusing on what feels good, only acknowledging what's convenient, only highlighting what supports a certain image. But real honesty doesn't filter. It doesn't adjust the truth to protect comfort. It shows things as they are. That's where insight is created. Insight isn't just information. It's understanding. It's the moment where something becomes clear enough that it can't be ignored anymore, where patterns connect, where actions match outcomes, where it becomes obvious what's working and what isn't. Once that level of honesty is reached, things begin to change, not automatically, but intentionally. Clarity is powerful, but it's not comfortable, because clarity removes distance. It removes the gap between what's said and what's done. It removes excuses. It removes the idea that more time alone will fix everything. Instead, it brings everything back to action, to discipline, to consistency. That's where discomfort shows up. Because now, it's not about external factors. It's not about waiting. It's not about circumstances. It becomes about alignment. Whether actions match intentions, whether effort is consistent or occasional. And that kind of clarity requires accountability, not from others, from within. Reflection doesn't accuse, it reveals. Life can be understood as a process of sculpting, not creating something from nothing, but shaping what already exists. Every habit adds something. Every action removes something. Every decision refines something. And over time, a result takes form. Without reflection, there's no awareness of that form. There's movement, but no direction. Effort, but no correction. Reflection acts as the mirror. It shows what's being built, whether intentional or not. Sculpting isn't clean. It's repetitive. It requires adjustment. It requires removal. It requires patience. Progress isn't always about adding more. Sometimes it's about removing what doesn't belong, and reflection helps identify that. This is where reflection goes deeper. It moves from just seeing into understanding. There comes a point where reflection turns into realization, not just seeing, but understanding. A shift in awareness where patterns become undeniable, where actions connect directly to outcomes, where it becomes clear that progress isn't random, it's built. That realization changes perspective, because once something is fully understood, it becomes a choice, not something confusing, not something unclear, a choice to continue the same patterns or to change them. And that moment, that realization, is where awareness fully opens. Once something becomes clear, it changes how everything is approached. Decisions aren't based on feeling anymore. They're based on understanding. And that shift is what turns awareness into direction. Awareness comes with responsibility, because once something is seen clearly, it can't be unseen. That changes the standard. Decisions become more intentional. Effort becomes more consistent. Excuses lose their strength, because reflection has already revealed what needs to be done. At that point, it's no longer about knowing. It's about applying. That's where real growth begins, not in learning more, but in doing differently. Without reflection, there's no interruption, no moment to stop and actually see what's happening. So everything continues. The same habits, the same patterns, the same decisions, not questioned, just repeated. Without reflection, there's nothing creating awareness, and without awareness, nothing gets corrected. So effort continues, but direction doesn't change. Over time, that becomes the result, not intentionally, but consistently, because what isn't examined is repeated, and what's repeated becomes reality. Reflection is, for you, not just something to think about, something to use, not occasionally, but when it matters, because without it, it's easy to stay active without actually progressing, to keep moving without changing direction. So it becomes a checkpoint, a way to measure what's actually happening, not what it feels like is happening. And over time, that creates clarity, not all at once, but enough to adjust, because reflection isn't there to slow anything down. It's there to make sure what's being done is actually working. The love of reflections is not about comfort. It's about growth. It's about choosing to see clearly even when it's uncomfortable, even when it challenges, even when it requires change. Because reflection isn't there to criticize. It's there to guide, to refine, to align, to develop. And over time, what once felt uncomfortable becomes necessary. Because reflection doesn't hold anything back. It doesn't adjust the truth. It doesn't protect excuses. It shows what is. So progress can become what's next. Reflection doesn't stop growth. It makes it possible. I hope you found something worth taking with you today. Maybe a new perspective, maybe a moment to pause and reflect. Thank you for being here and sharing this space with me. Your presence matters. If this resonated with you, share it with someone you care about, because growth spreads through connection. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Stay grounded. And as always, be safe.